Greetings and welcome.
We are in a log cabin in the Catskills Mountains for a little special celebration, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
What do we celebrate?
Our 10-year wedding anniversary.
I can't believe it's been 10 years.
I know. And so we have come to this cozy location because it reminds us so much of our wedding venue. And we thought it'd be a really special place to reminisce about our wedding 10 years later and answer some of your questions about our fall fairy tale wedding as well.
So in case you are new here, my name is Jonas.
And I'm Lindsay.
And one of our most frequent asked question is, how did a guy from Sweden met such a beautiful woman from California?
We are going to answer that question and more right after we watch our wedding video together. So get the tissues because, oh, thank you. I always cry. Are you ready to watch?
I'm ready.
All right.
That was so nice memories.
Aw, gets me every time.
It's a beautiful.
I just love you so much.
I just love you so much.
Hope you liked our little wedding video. It's always just makes me cry, and it was just such a beautiful day. And I think it's so emotional, especially because as an international couple, it was just the day that we knew we didn't have to be apart anymore.
I wouldn't leave to go to the airport or anything like that. We would, if we left for the airport, it would be both of us.
Yes.
And that was a nice feeling.
Yes, we knew we didn't have to spend our time living apart anymore. We can finally be together forever. So that is what we should talk about next. Why don't we talk a little bit about our love story, how we met?
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah. And you have actually written something that we thought would be nice to read that you wrote for our wedding website, kind of our little About Us section that I found.
I would love to take the opportunity to read it. One click would surely have a big impact on Jonas and Lindsay's life. It only took 1 second to answer that special friend request who appeared like a lightning that spring day in 2010. They started to talk and noticed that they had many, many things in common. 2 different people from 2 different worlds, and a beautiful friendship that would grow way more than they ever could believe. But the story takes its beginning earlier than that. In fact, a very long time before they even knew each other. Let's go back to the year of 2003, the year when Jonas finished his first year of college studies. What he didn't know was that a classmate, a Swedish-speaking Finn, would get to know his future wife 8 years later, which how you soon will find out. At the same moment, but on the other side of the world, Lindsay's interest for Scandinavia and Sweden just started to grow. After high school graduation, her family went to Norway, not aware of how close Jonas was. It wasn't time for them to meet yet, and Jonas moved to Stockholm for more studies and musicianship. More years would go by before they would meet. But this was important pieces of the big puzzle. Lindsay finished cosmetology school and worked with hair at that time until she went to a school in England and its beloved city of York. Once again she was back at the other side of the globe, still not aware of her future husband's existence. Lindsay went on a trip to Finland together with classmates and met a certain Swedish-speaking Finn called Rebecca. It wasn't difficult to know that Lindsay liked Scandinavian metal, and since Rebecca's old Swedish classmate, which was me, played in a Scandinavian metal band, they had something to talk about. And that is the short version of the story that ended with that special click, that friend request on Facebook, that was the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Thank you for reading that. And I hope you enjoyed seeing some old photos of us. We have come a long way since then.
But at the same time, it's like no days have passed.
Yeah.
You look still so young and beautiful.
Oh, you look so handsome. But it's fun to see all of our different, well, especially for me, all my different hair phases throughout the years. But yeah, that's how we met and fell in love. And the story of everything else is really long, so we're gonna stick more to our wedding details in this video. But so we were long distance dating between Sweden and California for about 2 years, and we got engaged when in that timeline though?
Well, I was at the halftime.
Yeah.
2011.
Well, actually, this is a very fun fact. We had picked the wedding location and date before we got engaged. Because as an international couple, you kind of have to plan these things out, and we had started talking about getting married in the summer before the fall that we got engaged. And during that summer, when I went back to California, I started looking around for wedding venues, and when I found the perfect one, so I wanted to book it right away. And so it's a funny little story that by the time you proposed, we already had the wedding location and date set.
And I would not be nervous at all that you would say no.
Yeah, exactly. But you still surprised me during the proposal.
But that was the most fun part, that to get you to be surprised and how I would do it.
Yeah.
Because I already knew the outcome of it.
Exactly. So, do you want to really quickly tell a little bit about how you planned the proposal?
Yeah. So I had found old church ruin from like the medieval times in a nearby town. And I decided that in the middle of that church ruin, I will propose to Lindsay.
Oh.
And it didn't have any roof because it was old, so you could kind of see the stars.
It's so beautiful.
And I had help from my two good friends to set this up, because I involved some fireworks, because I wanted fireworks when I went down on one knee.
The way you caught me by surprise
Yeah.
was because as soon as I got to Sweden, we were planning a trip to Norway for a festival, and I thought there's no way you're going to propose to me before that, but you did.
I wanted to go to Norway as engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And you were jet lagged, so it was a little bit, tricky to get you on board on going to see this.
I didn't want to go out.
Amazing place I had found.
Yeah, I was tired. But you totally surprised me, and thank you for planning such a beautiful proposal. Then we went back to your parents' house and we had a little celebration. That's a little bit of the story of how we fell in love, how we got engaged, and there's so many more details, but it's a really, our love story is like destiny, wouldn't you say?
I would say so.
Mm.
And of course this is really the short version.
Yeah.
Because it could be a long, I imagine, Hallmark movie.
We need a movie version of our love story one day, because it's that good. We're so grateful that we found each other. That's just the most magical thing, though, that I found my Prince Charming.
And I found my Princess Charming.
No.
If you haven't already, why don't you make some tea and get comfortable, and let's answer some questions.
Sounds good. So let's talk about how we decided where to get married, which country, and when was our wedding date, and all those lovely details.
So let's begin by answering, where was our wedding?
So the venue was in Big Bear, California, so in the mountains, which is really perfect for us to be able to find somewhere like that in California. And Golden Mountain Manor was the perfect location because it was a 1920s log manor, so it was a very large log cabin, and it's just so cozy, and it was the perfect place because it was enough space for all of our friends and family who came from all over the place to stay in. And the outside area where we got married, in the garden area, had this archway. And that was the very first thing I saw from the venue that I just fell in love with. I went up there with my mom to go see it because you were in Sweden and I was back in California. Standing there by the archway, I just started to cry, and I just knew that's how I wanted to feel on my wedding day. So it was just the right place, perfect place.
When the tears comes, you know you're right.
Yeah, exactly. So I went up there in the summer, at the end of summer, I think. And we had talked about wanting to have a fall wedding. And I thought, I wonder what it would be like how nice it would be to get married on the first day of fall in September. And that year, or the next year, it was going to be September 22nd. And I was thinking, I don't even care what day of the week it is. I just want to get married on the first day of fall if they have it available. And they did, and it was a Saturday too. So that was really perfect. And so that's why we ended up booking the wedding venue before we even got engaged, because you really have to snatch those dates up before anybody takes them.
The photos you sent me, I remember I looked at them, and I thought it was so beautiful. So you did a good scouting.
Oh, thank you.
let's move on to the preparation, and let us answer the question here. What was your wedding theme and colors?
So it was black, gray, and orange because maybe it's not very usual wedding colors, but you know, we met as metalheads in love, so I was like, okay, we have to have some black. Orange is my favorite color, and gray was just a nice accent piece. And I don't know, I thought they fit really well together.
What I like with the trio of colors is that I know black and orange is typical Halloween colors,
Yeah.
but thanks to the gray kind of like silver accent, it made it unique in its way. And that's what I love with it.
I think that's what made the difference. The location in itself was so rustic with the log cabin, and the garden was just so green and so full of beautiful fall colors that it balanced out everything super well.
Since I was a little bit more distant in Sweden and I was just working and you were planning, the thought crossed my mind that, wow, I wonder if these themes, it was a lot of themes, I never thought you were going to pull it off, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we had vintage, Victorian, Viking,
fairy tale, Hobbit,
yeah.
also, and the first day of fall.
Yeah, so I was not convinced, but of course I never said that because I believed in you.
No, there was many times where planning this wedding was so challenging on my mind because I started to call it my brainchild, because I knew in my soul that there was a way to make it all work. I just had to figure out the right decorations and the right atmosphere and everything. If you're not a wedding planner and if you don't hire a professional, you just have to like teach yourself how to do all these things. Like, how do you set the tone for the opening part, and then the rest of the day, how do you make it all flow together? I think I just naturally really enjoy doing that kind of thing. As we went along, I think I just started to trust myself more, and it got, you know, we once you got like this certain pieces, like my wedding dress, and you kind of the venue and all that, you just piece by piece, you know, we started to figure out, okay, this is how we want it to look and feel. I wanted to feel like Snow White marrying Prince Charming on the first day of fall in the mountains. But it was challenging sometimes just doing it all yourself, but it was also, we had so much help thanks to friends and family, and thanks to you being a graphic designer. You designed our wedding invitations.
Yeah.
So that was kind of our first trial by fire, trying to work on the invitations from a distance. I had like a little mood board of ideas I sent you, and then it took a few prototypes before we felt we got the right mood of what we wanted. Oh, and it was so special because we had one trip to California, we went to Disneyland, and on Main Street you can get your silhouettes done, and that ended up being what we had on our wedding invitations. Yeah.
I never seen that before on a wedding invitation.
Because the theme of our wedding and what we have on our wedding bands is dreams come true. You are my dream come true.
So are you.
So what we thought, we have to do it in our special way, right? We can't just write dreams come true on our wedding invitations. We had to put them into Viking runes, of course.
But that was also a nice blend with the Scandinavian heritage and the Californian heritage.
Kind of like felt like secret code a little bit too. Not everybody knew what that meant on our wedding invitations, and it's still so special because every time I see your wedding band, you know, it's like, oh, that's our special little, our motto, I guess, for our relationship.
It is.
Yeah.
And for the wedding invitations, I also draw this map that was inspired by kind of like the Lord of the Ring.
Yeah.
And it was fun to really do your own interpretation of the real map.
Yeah. So you did like the mountains.
Yeah.
Basically, and you put the little wedding venue, and it was a really nice touch.
And I also draw a little tiny like that arch, so that you fell in love with.
Oh, you did. That's right.
What were the decorations like?
So they were all handmade, DIY. We decided not to spend too much of our budget on flowers. Plus, we were having a more rustic fall wedding, so I realized, oh, we can save so much money and keep these decorations for the future if we use real pine cones, fall leaves, pumpkins. My mom even grew her own little pumpkin patch in our backyard for the wedding. So it was so special too, because every day you would look outside and see the pumpkins growing, and the closer we got to the first day of fall, the more the pumpkins grew, and it just felt like you could sense, that our wedding was getting closer.
It's like Cinderella and the carriage to her ball.
Yeah.
But this was a very slow fairy because it grows so slow.
Yeah.
But it still was growing every day. These wood carvings we did for the centerpieces, it's like slices from a log that I sanded and made the dreams come true in exactly what our wedding band says.
Yeah.
And I burned it with a pen.
Yeah.
And they come out so nicely.
Oh, they look so beautiful.
Yeah.
What was the most fun part of the wedding preparations?
For me, I think it definitely was the first time I got to see the venue.
Mm-hmm.
So we went up there.
Yeah.
And you showed me around, and it was beautiful.
You only saw it about 6 months before the wedding, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. So that was when it finally felt real, like this is where we're getting married. It was really hard doing it from a distance, and there was many lonely, sad days. So that was really, really special when you were able to come. Okay, so why don't we talk about our wedding outfits?
Yeah.
So we got a question of, how did you decide your wedding outfits? Lindsay, where did you get your beautiful gown from? So I ended up just getting mine from a very small little wedding shop. Me and my mom and my sister had gone to a few, and it took a while, but finally went to this small place, and there was one on the mannequin that really caught my eye. And I had, of course, done my research online, but I don't know, I always imagined myself in more of like a princess style gown. But I ended up going with a mermaid cut, which was really surprising, but I really loved how it looked. And I tried it on at the place, and it actually fit so perfect that we bought it straight off the mannequin. And they gave us a really good deal, which was great because we had a really smaller budget for everything.
Did you cry?
I did. I think I did.
And you said yes.
I said yes to the dress. The gown had a kind of classic Victorian, yet somewhat modern style. I absolutely loved how the dress had buttons going all the way down the back. That was something that I really, really wanted, and I loved the lace sleeves on the side. And I felt like the dress didn't need too much embellishment, so I just went with a simple long veil that had like lace scallops along the edge, because I just wanted to feel like a fairy tale princess or like an elvish princess. And that's why I also had commissioned a really lovely headpiece that had fall leaves on it, and that's what really helped me feel like a princess that day. And then I got some vintage style Victorian earrings with black onyx inside them that kind of went with my black diamond engagement ring. And then for the shoes, I just went with these white lace Victorian boots, because I don't like wearing heels, and I thought that would be a great solution.
So I found a very nice, beautiful leather vest, a medieval sort of leather vest at a Renaissance fair, and I had a hand-sewn undergarment, or is it called undergarment?
A shirt. Undershirt, yeah.
By my friend, the same friend who helped with the fireworks at the proposal.
Yeah.
And she did such a good job sewing this, and also including on the sleeves dreams come true in rooms,
that's
and
a special touch.
Everything. It's so much detail on it.
Yeah.
And
she also sewed
the groomsmen's tunics, which I really love.
And that was fun to figure out the design with her. And for my bridesmaids, they ended up wearing more Victorian style black shirts with high lace collars and gray skirts and black Victorian boots. So it was a cool combination, if I do say so myself.
And I think everything matched together, like the bridesmaids and groomsmen was looked really very good together. and our outfits was also very far away from in style, but it worked so good together.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I loved it. So it turned out really well. Okay, so why don't we move on to all of the pre-wedding celebrations? So, like about a month before the wedding, I had a bridal shower, which was planned by my mom and my sister. They did the most amazing job of setting up my Snow White themed bridal shower. I mean, isn't that perfect?
Perfect.
So they said, we don't want you to be involved in any of this planning. They just knew I wanted to feel like Snow White that day, and they planned it so well, and it was such a special day. And then can you guess where my bachelorette party was then?
I have.
I mean, you
some
know,
ideas.
obviously.
Should I tell them?
Tell them.
Disneyland.
Disneyland! I mean, how much more perfect is that? So it was so special because by that time, so many people were in town that I got to go to Disneyland with like all my favorite people from all over the world. So it was just something, another dream come true. That's why I just love our wedding theme so much, because so many just little dreams come true came together all around our wedding. And then what did you do for your bachelor party though?
Well, me and the guys went to Knott's Berry Farm, and I got a little surprise there because I should have known that this was coming, because in Sweden it's a common tradition to, make it a little hard for the groom.
Embarrass them.
Little embarrassing tasks to do, and like just before we were about to go to the car and leave, and I thought, oh, this is gonna be a relaxing day. They like, whoa, you need to change. Mm-hmm. So they had me wear this super big tank top.
And they wrote, what did they write on it?
They wrote getting married. And they had bought me a pair of kind of like oversized pajama pants with
Angry Bird.
Yeah, Angry Bird. And I was so close.
You called me.
Yeah.
When we were at Disneyland, and you're like, "Oh, how's it going?" I'm wearing Angry Bird pajama pants, and I'm walking around Knott's Berry Farm, and people are staring at me. And it was really special because we had planned that night to all the girls and all the guys to get together at one of my favorite coffee shops in Orange County. And it was just, I remember there was this moment where we were all sitting around this big circle, and there was just friends from Sweden, California, Scotland, and just seeing everybody chatting and getting along and knowing that this was like our wedding party. And I just had this moment where I was like, wow, this will never happen again, probably. Like how all these really special people to us in our lives are all together at once doing all this together. And so that's how it was up at the wedding venue, because we rented out the manor for the weekend. And that's why also the location was just so perfect.
You feel like home because it's your home for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to forget, just stress about every detail and forget about how special it is to be together, because, yeah, as you said, it might be the only time that all of those people will be together at the same time.
Exactly. So it was really special because we went up on a Friday night and we had our wedding rehearsal, and then we got like pizza and brought it back to the manor, and everyone was just having so much fun. We were all dancing around, and it was just so special. And then the next day would be our wedding day. So why don't we talk about the day of the wedding itself? Just kind of walk through everything that happened.
Yeah.
So it was really nice because we all had breakfast together at the manor.
It was super good.
Oh, I just love the staff there. They were just the best. Like you were saying, they just really made you feel like this was your home for the weekend. All the rooms and everything are just decorated so nicely. And so we got ready in our separate rooms. Since I was working at a salon at the time, one of my coworkers was so amazing, and she came up and did hair for everybody, and I did my own makeup, and I think it all turned out so nicely. Then we had our first look,
which was, I hadn't seen anything how we would look. So that was like,
Yeah.
you know, almost as nervous as the wedding itself, you know.
And we decided to do the first look just so that we could kind of get out some of those jitters before the actual ceremony.
It really helped.
And the photographer had you like standing, so I came up behind you and then you turned around, and it was just such a special moment. But you didn't see everything at the first look. I saved something for the trip down the aisle.
Yeah, which was your beautiful veil.
So I thought that would be a nice extra touch just to put that on right before walking down the aisle, and so you would be able to just really see me coming down as like this princess bride of sorts.
Yeah. You really looked like a princess.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
You're such a prince.
Oh, you think so?
Standing up there. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you really did. What stood out to me was that you looked so confident and so just ready to be man and wife. After, being long distance, it was really hard, and I'm gonna cry again.
Oh. I just knew what I wanted, Lindsay.
Yeah.
And I was ready there.
It was so special walking down with my dad, and we had a smaller wedding, so it was about 70 guests, so it was very cozy, and I felt like I could just look at everyone's faces and just seeing everyone's reactions, as I was walking down. It really felt like everything was in slow motion.
I did not remember every detail of the wedding because it's like a dreamy blur to me, but I do remember the vows.
You do? Okay.
Because we brought our own vows.
Well, it helped too because we had Jeremy, our officiant, and my family friend reading it off, so we just repeated it. We did a knot tying ceremony as well.
Yeah.
That was really special. I remember being nervous, just like, okay, gotta do this without messing it up.
So Jeremy really surprised us a little bit there when he announced us husband and wife. Because when he said, "You may now kiss the bride," he said that part in Swedish.
And he's not Swedish at all. He's from California. Who did he ask? Your twin brother?
He asked my twin brother,
yeah.
like 10 minutes before, I think it was.
He told us later.
He nailed it.
And really. He said it perfectly. But you're all waiting, everybody's waiting for the moment. Like, you may now kiss the bride. But it came out in Swedish out of Jeremy's mouth. It was just like, were you so shocked?
A little bit.
I mean, but it was so great because they didn't need a translation. Everybody knew what it meant, and everybody knew that it was in Swedish. And we were just laughing, and then we kissed, and it was just this magical moment.
Moments like that is moments you remember. So
then we turned around, and everyone was cheering, and we had given fall leaves out in little bags so that people could throw them up as we were walking down the aisle. And those leaves were so perfect because they just swirled around. Walking back down the aisle together, how did that feel?
It felt like, wow, we are married now.
Yeah.
It felt like surreal.
So the song that I walked down the aisle to was from Lord of the Rings. It was the theme for Arwen and Aragorn. So it was really special. It was the part where Enya starts singing, and so that's what I floated down the aisle to. And then when we had turned around and walked back down the aisle, it was to Concerning Hobbits, and it was just the most special, uplifting song
it's more
for
like
the first day of fall.
Light-hearted, like you kind of
just kind of bouncing and floating, and everybody was throwing the leaves. And it's perfect too because September 22nd is also the official Hobbit day of Frodo and Bilbo's birthday. So everything just corresponded perfectly. We went over to the side for a moment, and that was where I think it hit us finally.
It was the first moment we were completely alone together.
Yeah, for a moment.
For a moment, yeah.
Except our photographer captured that moment, but we had no idea. So it was just so candid, so special, so magical, and like the end of the song was just finishing, and I just remember we looked at each other and we were like, we're married, we're really married. Then we cried. That was actually the only time the whole wedding day that we cried. And it was just a little bit, it was just so tender and special, and I'll never forget how that felt. That was just pure magic.
It truly was.
Yeah. I got a good question about like what kind of music did we play at the wedding, and I actually put together all the playlists myself. We didn't have a DJ or anything, and it took me months of just downloading music to my little old iPod. I had so much fun creating it, and I just used music from all the things that we love, different soundtracks, so like Lord of the Rings, Snow White, and some Disneyland area music, and vintage music like from Frank Sinatra or Glenn Miller, some traditional Scandinavian folk music too.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a very random mix, but I really happy how it all flowed together. It was so nice. We had a friend of ours help be the MC and announcements person and the music, and he did such a good job. The music just played such a important part of our day, just really set the tone for everything.
And that's what's so cool, to play it like now and then, the playlist, because
every September.
Yeah, and you are instantly, it like transforms you back to that moment.
Yes, I can remember what I was feeling during every song. So then after the ceremony, we took some family photos and with all the bridesmaids and groomsmen, and then I had my heart set on going away from the location and taking pictures at Big Bear Lake. Our photographer, Julie Lynn, was just the best I could have ever hoped for. It was just a special moment, the three of us, and she knew we just wanted to really have our Prince Charming and Snow White moment there at the lake, and she just nailed it.
And like the big meadow and all that. It was like epic too.
It was, and it was that golden hour. The sunlight was so magical at the lake, and we had these dramatic shots with my veil being tossed up, and then I took off my veil for some photos too, and then we even sat down in the grass and had a moment where you were like kissing my hand, and it was just turned out so nice. And meanwhile, at the wedding venue, we had the cocktail hour going on. We had a silhouette artist there to do the wedding favors. It was so cool because she could cut 2 silhouettes at once of the person. So one went to the guest and one went into our wedding scrapbook.
That was something unique, I think, that I never seen like before.
And then the guest,
such a memory that it might be something that you actually frame.
And then so when we came back from the lake,
we were announced as Mr. and Mrs. Carlson.
yay!
And that was epic to hear that.
Yeah.
But what happened also, totally not planned, was that the song who came on was Fly Me to the Moon, which have been a special song for us.
I had a reception playlist, and yeah, my friend had all the information, but somehow I tried to plan everything down to the detail, but I completely forgot to mention what song should be playing when we came into the reception. That detail just passed me by, but he picked Fly Me to the Moon, having no idea that that was our song. And there were so many magical things like that happened.
Some stuff you have to leave for faith.
Exactly.
Let's move on to the food.
Yeah, usually your favorite part, huh?
Yeah. And it was so nice to come to the table and have the food after such, so much emotions and everything who happened that day.
Well, at the appetizer, we should talk about the appetizer food, which was really good. It was this beautiful display that I wanted to look like something that a hobbit would have at a little hobbit feast.
And it definitely looked like that because you had the pumpkin there that was like homegrown, and it was definitely a hobbit party.
So somebody had brought us some of that before we went to the lake, I think, if I remember right. Just everyone was taking care of us so well. We never got to that starving point. So what was on our dinner menu?
It was lasagna and spaghetti, which made sound like not a typical wedding food.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, this is not a typical wedding either.
No.
It's our wedding.
And then we had apple cider served. So we had a little sweetheart table that we sat at, and like I said, our wedding was on the smaller side, so we had like a handful of round tables all spread out, and then so we could be at the sweetheart table and just like see everyone enjoying themselves. And it was just so special. Again, it had a moment when we were sitting there and everyone was enjoying the food and laughing and talking, and I just looked around and saw everyone from our lives, you know, that we just loved, and seeing them all together, people from my childhood and from Sweden and from college, and you know, everybody mingling and getting along, and that just meant so much to me to see how happy everyone was. So what was our first dance like with all of our wedding guests?
It was around a maypole. You have a pole and it's like ribbons hanging down, and then you simply have your own ribbon, and as you walk around you go under and like over, so it's like when you have danced the dance,
It
you
weaves
have a nice pattern on the pole
of black, gray, and orange ribbons. That kind of maypole you might see at Renaissance fairs. So speaking of Renaissance fair, what special treat did we have for the dance?
I can't believe this, because in itself it's such a cool story that the first time I was in California we went to a Renaissance fair and I saw a hurdy-gurdy player performing,
You know,
and I
that's, like,
filmed him,
little-
and with no idea, we hadn't really talked about getting married yet. A year later we went back to the same Renaissance fair and
yeah,
we were like, do you think he would be good for our wedding?
he
so
was there? Yeah,
We talked to him, and he was the guy who played during the maypole dance.
And he even brought a friend of his, and I asked if he could cover this certain song from a Viking fair that we went to in Sweden. Going around with all the wedding guests, it was like, you know, we could come up face to face with everyone. That was just so special. It just really felt like a slow motion, like movie moment where, you know, everyone was laughing and you're like just getting to connect with everybody.
Blending into the music, you hear like, whoops, oh, hi, hey. And, you know,
We were
also
bumping
mixed
into each other.
English and Swedish,
Yes.
which was very special.
I think we had way more people than you're supposed to have
Yeah,
for that kind of dance. I remember the wedding coordinator, the venue owner, watching, and I could tell she wanted to jump in, and by that point I just felt like a friend of her, like we felt like friends, you know. I just really connected with her, and I was like, Kathy, come on in, and I could tell she was like, okay. And then as it got like tighter and tighter down, you know, you couldn't really wrap around anymore, so everybody just started clapping towards the end of the song. I think my mom got that going, and it was just a once in a lifetime experience. And then so very quickly after that we decided to have our first couple dance. We are not dancers really, so
No.
that's why we decided to do the maypole dance and then just a short first dance under like the fairy lights that were strung up. So what was our first dance song?
It was So This Is Love.
From Cinderella. And it's great too because that song is like less than 2 minutes long, so it was just a perfect little slow dance that we did and had our little moment. You dipped me, I think.
Yes.
Yes, did the romantic dip.
Not planned at all, but
No.
I was like, taking the moment here.
Yeah. What happened after that? Was it the cake cutting then?
The cake cutting.
Mm-hmm.
The flavor was...
The cupcakes. and everything.
we had cupcakes for everyone. And the flavor was pumpkin cupcakes.
Pumpkin spice with cream cheese frosting.
Yeah.
So,
And every
so good.
cupcake had a Swedish and an American flag.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention too, we tried to tie in our love of travel and how much travel just had been a part of our relationship as an international couple.
I think it was more, we named the tables like the Swedish table.
Yeah.
And the
California
table.
Yeah.
And
So that was our dream come true fall fairy tale wedding in the mountains of California. And I'm just so forever grateful for how it turned out. We had a question of, did anything go unplanned or anything bad happen? You know, I mean, that's pretty typical when something goes wrong the day of the wedding. But as far as I know, nobody ever told me that nothing went wrong. The day just flowed so well.
And I feel that was because it was planned very good, so that it left room for the unexpected. That it turned out to be pleasant memories.
Kathy and the staff of the manor, everything just went off without a hitch. It was just And we got hit. But we got hitched.
We got hitched.
We got hitched. So that was our wedding day. Hope you enjoyed.
So we got a question about the honeymoon. Where did we go?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, my picture of a honeymoon was always that it was gonna be like a long trip. But we made a road trip in California, which was fun for me also, because I only been to where you lived in in
Southern California. Yeah.
So I only saw that area, but I never really realized how diverse the whole state is.
I know, originally I thought I wanted to have this super fairy tale honeymoon, like going to
a German castle or something.
Yeah. We were moving to Sweden in a couple months anyway, so we were like, well, maybe it's special for you to see more where I come from, because soon we'll be moving to where you come from. And it was really nice, because we got to go to places like Monterey, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, Solvang.
I mean, do you really want to be jet lagged? The first thing, if you go for a long flight, and I feel like that was just the perfect journey into being married.
So why don't we just answer a few final questions that you guys gave us, and thank you again for all these lovely questions. And one of them was, did you receive any pushback from friends or family on the type of wedding or theme that you wanted? Did you experience anything from your side of the family?
Nothing at all. I just received positivity and excitement, because I can still hear today, like, they talking about that our wedding was nothing like they ever had experienced.
Yeah.
And it was special. That makes me happy that our day become such a nice memory for them as well.
I still hear people say that occasionally too, that our wedding was just really special. And actually the owner of the venue, Kathy, kept a few of our decorations, like the wood centerpieces, and when we got to visit a year later, actually, it was really special and up there, she still had we had printed out as a wedding gift to her the map that you made of Big Bear, and with the little Gold Mountain Manor there in the corner, and we had it framed for her. And I was thinking, I don't know if she'll like it or not, but it was still hanging up there a year later. And I think nobody was really surprised that we were having a little less traditional of a wedding. But at the same time, we had some very traditional elements too. Yeah.
That's the thing. We mixed the traditional and like more of our own style, our own traditions.
Yeah, that's
it was a good mix.
What was the most challenging part of the wedding planning process?
The wedding planning process, the hardest part was for me to be in another time zone, because I worked on my tasks when you were asleep.
Yeah.
Because I worked night. So my sleeping routines weren't the best either.
There was times where we would go a few weeks without even really getting a chance to spend time just talking. And when you're long distance, that person that's so far away, there was times where I literally said to some of my friends, like, I feel like I'm planning a wedding for a person that I made up in my imagination.
Yeah, like a fairy tale person.
Yeah, like that it was just a fantasy wedding that I just made up in my head, because I couldn't be with you all the time.
I know.
But that's why it was so nice when you were able to visit a few times, and it felt more real then. And also the really challenging part was that during this whole wedding planning process, I was also working on my Swedish visa, because we knew we were going to move to Sweden 3 months after we got married. And so doing all of that immigration stuff at the same time as wedding planning was a big challenge. But it all worked out.
With all this said, is there something you would do differently if you planned it again?
I don't think I would change anything of the decorations or anything, because everything was just put in with so much love. The only thing I regret is that 10 years ago, we didn't have the budget, and it wasn't very common to hire a videographer for your wedding. The only video footage we have from our wedding was from my dad's camcorder that he had. And I asked one of my bridesmaids husbands if he didn't mind filming our wedding for us, because kind of towards the end I started realizing, you know what, video is a really special format that can capture emotions that photos can't, and wouldn't it be nice to just try to capture some of that? But you know, that camcorder wasn't HD or anything, so I'm so glad for the footage we do have, but I really thought a little more about hiring a videographer. But I also think it just was like way out of our budget, you know.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I do regret and wish we had just more nicer, higher quality wedding footage. But Jonathan, he did such a good job just capturing what he did with my dad's camcorder. So
yeah, definitely. If you met your newlywed self, is there any advice you would get?
Do you know your answer?
I think so, because I've been thinking that the first year I kind of had the illusion that I have to have my whole life now fixed and planned. You know, because with marriage comes responsibilities and all that stuff. So I would say you don't have to have everything perfectly planned. It's you might be married, but this is a new learning chapter in your life.
Yeah.
So you have to take it step by step.
Yeah.
Don't freak out. Don't have fun along the way.
My advice would be, I remember, well, before we met, I thought I would never find somebody that would love me.
Oh.
You know, I was only 25 years old when we got married, and I felt like so old. Can you believe that? I thought we were getting married so late in life. And here we are 10 years later. We're still making our dreams come true. And it's very much an adventure along the way together. Just like a fairy tale, there's the amazing moments and then there's the dark and scary moments. But I think having both of those is what makes life so special together.
Absolutely. Oh, very good. I like that.
I love you.
I love you too. Lindsay, this was really fun to
so nice.
revisit, and it used so much memories, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and maybe you've learned something new about, maybe you're planning your wedding and got some suggestions or tips. I had fun, didn't you?
I love talking about our wedding, so I know maybe I overshared, or I don't know, but...
And I feel like this is the short micro version of it.
It's so
we
true.
can talk so much more about it.
True. There's just so many little details that went into all the planning, all the help of friends and family that we had. It just wouldn't have been possible without the support of the loved ones we have in our lives.
It's getting a little dark here.
It is.
And we are actually gonna change our outfits and go to celebrate a little bit.
Yay!
At a nice restaurant. So thank you so much for watching. We had really fun. And if you haven't already, we would love for you if you would subscribe and just join our Cozy Cottage Club.
Thank you so much for being a part of our 10-year anniversary celebration. It just means so much. Okay, shall we go?
All right.
Bye for now.
Bye for now.